Hello everyone, it's Kathy with Paper Phenomenon. Welcome to Making a Mini Album Masterclass. During this series of videos, I'm going to walk you through step by step on how to make a mini album. Naked, guys. Pages, cover, pages, and the reasons why. Usually when I create a tutorial, I just give you instruction on how to make a specific project from start to finish. I don't give you the reasons why I choose this spine, why I choose this spacing, etc., etc. So this series, Masterclass, is education on the why. So if you're interested in learning the why, this is the place for you. What you want to do with this series of videos is reference these whenever you're making one of my projects or any project. It could be one of your own projects. Throughout the years, I have been making mini albums for 15 plus years now, all right? Or 10 plus years. Not sure, one of the two, right? But easy 10 plus years, all right? And my style and my technique has changed. It has changed so much. So I'm thinking this would be your go-to place for learning the new techniques. Okay, so let's say you buy a tutorial of mine from 15 years ago, right? 15 years ago. The design will stay the same, but the technique will be new. This will be the series of videos you want to watch for the new technique. Hopefully that all makes sense. You'll be able to take these videos and any of my older projects and be able to marry those together to create the perfect project. So stay tuned. There is a cutting guide available for this specific project that we're going to work on, but you don't have to buy anything. You can just watch these videos and learn. Let this be educational. If you want to make the same exact project, kind of hands-on practice, then click on that link below where it shows you, where it takes you to your purchase options in my shop. All right, so that's entirely up to you, but no purchase necessary, guys. This is going to be purely educational. If you like hands-on practice, check out in the description box. Your links are available to you. So join me on this journey. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Hello there. This is Kathy with Paper Phenomenon, and welcome to Making a Mini Album Masterclass. We're going to start off with the album cover. However, there is a big stop sign there, okay? If you're designing your own mini album, you can start with the cover because you don't know where it's going to take you, right? But if you are following a project based on a tutorial and you're resizing, right? Let's say you picked up one of my tutorials, Paper Phenomenon, and you're like, I love this album. I want to stuff more pictures in here. I need a bigger spine, right? So that is, your cover size is based off of your page size and how thick is your page stack, right? So to determine the size of your album cover, you want to make your pages, you want to decorate your pages, perhaps put the photo mats in there before you size your album cover. But let's take this one nice and slow. We're going to create an album from scratch, all right? We don't know what the page sizes are. We know nothing. What we know is we're making this album cover, and let's just say we want it to be this specific size, right? For sizing measurements, take a look at your cutting guide. If you want to make the project exactly like mine, the cutting guide is available for purchase in the description box below. But you don't have to do that. You can just watch and learn. This could be educational purposes only. So starting from scratch, let's go to my desk and let's start from piece number 1. All right, so I've got my pieces here. All right, I followed the cutting guide. I cut my pieces. You need a front cover, a spine, and a back cover. Okay. Now you have to put these pieces together. You can use 2 things or several things, but in this case, I'm going to give you examples for 2. You can use tape. This is my double-sided. This is my tape. It's called P3 tape. It's a fabric-based tape, but you can use whatever tape you want, right? or you can use cardstock, what I call a cardstock wrap. And I will show you how to do a cardstock wrap. All right, those are basic measurements that you'll be able to follow time and time and time again. For tape, I'm going to show you how to do this. All right, so for tape, you want to cut a piece for the outside edge. All right, and you want to cut this 1/8 of an inch shorter than your album cover. Why do you want to cut it 1/8 of an inch shorter? Because you don't want to have to deal with anything hanging over when you place the tape. All right, you can even go as far as 1/4 of an inch. All right, so this will save you a little bit of cleanup time. If you cut it from end to end, I guarantee you're going to have cleanup time. So you want one for the ends. So let's cut another one. We already have our measurement, so let's follow this one. So if you want to watch the cardstock version, you want to skip this one and go to video 2. All right, and it says cardstock version. So we got our pieces for our left and right hand side. Now you're going to need 2 pieces for your spine, and you want that to be the same exact size as the left and the right hand side. Okay, all right. So remember, cutting under the cover height or length is very important to the efficiency, right? So depending on if you like to clean up, if you just want to boom, 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 get through it, cut it 1/4 of an inch smaller, all right? And you'll be good. 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, either one will work, all right? With 1/4 of an inch, you really don't have to be careful. You just slap this tape on and you're done, okay? Some people don't like that 1/4 of an inch. They prefer the 1/8 of an inch. You can decide that for yourself, all right? So I've got my 2 pieces for my spine, and I've got my 2 pieces for the outside edges. So we want to start off with our spine, all right? This tape is 1.5 inches wide, and it's just perfect for making mini album covers, okay? And you can pick this up in my shop. I have it in 2 colors, in black and in white. But again, you don't need this. You can use cardstock. So you want to remove the tape backing, and you want to attach your spine piece about 1/2 inch into the tape. About 1/2 inch. All right, like so. Now you want to do the same thing on the opposite side. All right, this is pretty basic, okay? Same thing on the opposite side, about 1/2 inch in. It's not exactly 1/2 inch, no big deal. It just has to overlap onto that, to the chipboard piece. All right, now here is some education. This is important. Before you add your inside covers, or your front and back cover, excuse me, you have to determine how much space you want to leave in between the chipboard pieces. That is determined based upon 2 things: the thickness of your chipboard, and here is the reason why, what my tutorials don't tell you, why I leave a specific amount of space, okay? That is also determined by how much you want to put on the inside covers. If I want to put a really heavy pocket assembly on here, I want to be sure that I leave enough space in between my chipboard pieces to accommodate that. If you don't, your album is not going to close properly, all right? So the spacer tape, what I normally call it in my tutorials, is determined on 2 things: the thickness of my chipboard, easy peasy for me because I use the same chipboard over and over and over. This is Maker Basics brand chipboard. You can also find this in my shop, paperphenomenon.com. And how much layering is going to be on the inside covers of my album, inside front and inside back. Normally, I do 1/4 of an inch because I don't get too crazy on the inside cover. If I'm going to get super fancy, I go nuts and I do more than 1/4 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch, etc. This one is going to be a pretty easy inside cover page assembly, so I'm just going to do 1/4 of an inch. You can do your spacer 2 ways. You can take 1/4 of an inch tape and apply it directly onto the sticky side of the P3 tape, really close to your chipboard. So on the tape, so you're literally sticking tape to tape, okay? If you don't want to do this, you can take a pencil and a ruler and draw a line that's 1/4 inch, or you can eyeball it. All right, those 3 things. You can eyeball it. Boom. I like to do spacer tape because it's important to me that my covers are straight. Once you determine the size of the space in between your chipboard, you put your covers in place. You're going to make sure they line up from top to bottom, right? Because remember, the tape is cut under. So you're really lining it up with the chipboard, not with the tape. Make sure they line up properly. You can use your cutting surface grid as a guide, right? Like I'm doing right here. Press down firmly. And again, use your cutting mat as a guide to get that on there nice and straight. And you stick it down, guys. You have made your album cover. What's next is now deciding whether you want to cover up the raw edges of the chipboard. You absolutely want to do that. So when making an album cover, the spacing in between your chipboard pieces is super important. Let's give you a takeaway here. The takeaway is the spacer in between your chipboard covers is determined based upon the thickness of your chipboard and the amount of goodies you're going to put on the inside, front, and back cover. All right. So there's some planning involved when you're deciding the size of your inside cover. There's planning, definitely planning involved. All right. But these are the rules. All right. And you've got the rules now. You can take this and determine the size of your spacer based upon the design of your album and how much you're decorating, right? All right, so now for the tape around the perimeter, we've got already our left and right hand side, so let's go ahead and attach that. So for this, you want to go in midway. You want to overlap by half. Stick it down. Remember, no overhang, okay? If you have anything hanging over, trim it. You do not want any overhang. I'm going to flip this over because I'm a righty and it's just easier for me to attach things on my right-hand side. Okay. So let's do that. So by half. See that? Now you want a piece for the top and the bottom. So you're going to take your P3 tape and you're going to measure from tape to tape. Okay? Like so. And you're going to cut 2 pieces. From tape to tape, my friends. Cut 2 pieces. All right, so let's do that. And now you're going to attach them midway, just like we did these side pieces, right? Exactly the same way. So let's remove the tape backing and let's attach it. So midway, let's not forget, midway. Does it have to be perfect? No. Are we going for perfect? Yes. Okay. Now the top, I'm going to flip this over. This is easier to work when things are closer to you. So flipping it over, removing the tape backing, and we're going to situate the album cover onto the tape. Okay, so let's go. I'm taking the album cover to the tape, positioning it midway, and then dropping it. Release, my friends. Burnish, make sure you get a good stick. Why do I prefer the tape over the cardstock? 2 reasons. It's so much easier. The adhesive is already on there. And the likelihood of you getting cracking in your spine is reduced by probably 100%. Okay? That's why I love the tape. It's just easier. Is it necessarily better? No, not necessarily, because you may love the look and feel of the cardstock and you may not love the look and feel of tape. All right? This is just more efficient, and it also reduces the likelihood of the cracking in the spine by a lot. So, you know, it's just your personal preference, okay? All right, now let's continue. Notice this border we have around the perimeter. You're going to see this very similar border when you are doing a cardstock wrap. If you're using cardstock, you're going to want to see this border. So everything from here on to the end is exactly the same whether you're using cardstock or tape or paper hinges, all right? Because you can create paper hinges to these lengths, right? And piece them all together to create the same exact look here, all right? So what we want to do is we want to miter next. What is mitering? Cutting on the diagonal in the corners, all right? But when you miter, you want to cut at least 1/4 of an inch away from the corner of the album. So what you want to do, if you're not good at this, and almost 15 years deep, I'm still not good at this. So sometimes, you know, I do all sorts of different things. It depends, I don't know, on my mood. If I'm having a good hair day or not. Whether I use a pencil, I make a mark, or I just go straight in with the scissors and done. It all depends on what, I don't know. So your mark, you want it to be 1/4 of an inch away from the corner of the chipboard. All right, so from that corner of the chipboard, that's where you want your mark. So grab a pencil, eyeball about 1/4 of an inch away from the corner. Okay, that way you know where you're cutting. And then grab your scissors, and you want to cut on the diagonal 1/4 of an inch away from the corner of each corner of your album cover. Okay, just like that. Why am I saying 1/4 of an inch? This measurement is based on the thickness of your chipboard. If my chipboard were thinner than this, I would go in a little, you know, I would be closer to the corner. If my chipboard were thicker than this, I would be further away from the corner. All right, so that measurement is typically 2 times the thickness of your chipboard. There is your why. So my chipboard is roughly about 1/8 of an inch thick, roughly, guys. All right, so I'm about 1/4 of an inch away from the corner. Okay, so 2 times the thickness of your chipboard is the measurement for how far away from the corner of your chipboard you should cut. Okay, now to move on, you want to remove the spacer tape. If you do spacer tape like me, remove the tape backing from your spacer. Okay, and now you want to wrap the excess tape, in this case, onto the chipboard. Now there's a special way to do this wrap. Okay, you want to start on a corner, at a corner, whether it's the left hand or the right hand side, it doesn't matter. Pick a corner, any corner, start at the corner. You want to work your way to the spacer tape. You want to stop about a finger width away from the spacer tape. Okay, so we're going to start on this side. We're going to pull, and you're pulling toward this way on the slant toward the spacer. Okay, not straight down, this way. All right, and that's how you would naturally pull anyway. So you're pulling, and sticking, and you're going to stop about finger width before you get to the spacer. Mosey on over to the opposite corner. Remember, we're pulling this way, not this way. It's a big difference. All right, so you're pulling and sticking. Whether you're using cardstock or tape, this is the same exact thing that you're going to do. All right, same exact thing. All right, so see this excess material that has formed here, this bowing here? This is what you want. Next, you're going to take right in the middle, pull straight down and stick it onto the spine. Straight down, guys. And now you're going to see those 2 little bumps that are there? You want to work those bumps right into the spacer. Right into the spacer. All right, so left and right hand side of the spacer, left and right hand side of the spacer. There are my 2 little bumps. They're just perfection. See my little bumps right there? You need those bumps, especially if you're working with cardstock. All right, those bumps are going to give you just enough room so that the tape at the bottom and this tape at the top stick and stay stuck. all right? If you're using cardstock and you don't have that extra room, when you flex your album cover, your cardstock will slowly split apart and you'll see that that will no longer stick together, all right? It lifts, okay? So you want to create those two little bumps, that extra space, so that it stays in place. So now just push it down into your spacer and stick it. Push that little bump in, guys. Push it in there. And burnish. You can use a burnishing tool or you can use your fingers, okay? You want to burnish to the left and the right hand side of the album covers and the spine, right? Along the edge of the spine and along the edge of the covers, all right? That's two edges on the spine, and then to the left and the right hand sides of the album cover. And you want that look right there. See that? There's an indentation in there. You want that tape to be inside of this, stuck to that spacer tape. That when you flex, you don't want it to come up. You want it to stay attached. All right, let's flip it on over and do it again. So again, pulling and sticking. Now, with the P3 tape, you don't have to worry so much about how hard you're pulling. You could be a little beastie if you want, right? When you're using cardstock, you want to be careful. You have to be a little tougher with cardstock because it's thicker, but you also have to be gentle at the same time because you don't want to tear your cardstock, nor do you want it so tight that when you flex your album cover, it tears as well. All right, so there's about a finger width apart from my spacer, center, straight down, pulling, straight down and sticking, and then work that little bump to your spacer. There's my little bumps. See my little bumps? Now situating those bumps right above the spacer, and then boop, push them in and stick. Push them in, stick, burnish the left and the right hand side of the spacer tape, which would be up against the spine and up against the covers. All right, I'm using my nails to get in there. You can also use a burnishing tool. Now go ahead and give it another burnish to ensure the stick, and you're good to go. You're good to go. You're halfway done, my friends. Well, you're 3/4 of the way done. All right, so now you're going to notice that there's some excess cardstock or tape in this case that has covered your corner. That's what you want, okay? Notice the tapering action that we have right here, right? So you're going to notice that it's straight and then it tapers off of the corner of the chipboard. What you want to do is tuck that corner in, tuck the tape in until you have a full taper from the corner to the edge of the tape. All right, so you're going to fold that in, fold just ever so slightly. You're tucking it in, and you're going to create a little taper all the way from the corner of the chipboard to the end. Doesn't have to be perfect. So it's straight now. You'll see it's nice and straight beyond the edge or the corner of the chipboard. You don't want that. You want the tapering to begin right at the corner of the chipboard. So you're going to kind of fold it in, fold, and tuck. Now we have tapering from the corner all the way to the edge of the tape. And this overhang doesn't matter, but it bothers me. So I cut it off. All right. So now that we're tapering right at the corner all the way to the edge, now we can go ahead and fold the excess tape onto the chipboard. And you're going to do that pulling and sticking motion. Now, you do not have to start at the corner here. You can start here in the middle. I prefer to start in the middle and work. Now we're pulling straight down. Okay? Now you want to be nice and tight, pulling nice and tight because you want the tape to be stuck on that chipboard really, really well. All right, you want it to adhere to the chipboard really well, and you want a nice, clean edge. If you don't do it tight, you're going to get little bumpies on the edge of your album cover. You don't want that. All right, check it out, guys. How absolutely perfect is that? No exposed corner, beautifully flat, just perfection. So again, the excess cardstock that forms This is the why, right? Why are you doing this? You're covering up the corner of the chipboard. You don't want to see exposed chipboard on the corner of your album. It also protects the corner of your album, right? The corners usually get beat up. So you want to be sure that you cover up that corner really well, and you want to do it in a nice way, right? So you're going to, it goes straight beyond the corner of the chipboard. You don't want that. You want it to taper off right at that corner. So you're going to go ahead and fold that excess tape onto itself until you achieve a taper, right? So you want it to taper. You want that tapering to start right at the corner of the chipboard, not beyond. Okay, so go ahead and fold it over. Stick it down onto itself. You want to create a nice little flat surface there. Okay, and there you go. Now our tapering begins right at the corner of the chipboard. Now you want to stick the rest of it down. I like to start in the middle. You would like to start in the middle as well and work your way to the ends. Okay. All the way to the end. And I notice that I have a little bit of excess tape forming here in my corner. Just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to cut it off. And now I'm going to stick it down. Just a little, it was a tiny bit sticking up, so I just cut it off. And now I have a perfect corner and a perfectly wrapped album cover. All right, so this method is exactly the same way with cardstock, except that with cardstock, you use cardstock, not tape, and you have 3 individual pieces, and I will show you how to size that in the next video. So your album cover is done. This is your album cover. So if this is where you're starting, okay, this is where you're starting, then you have to decide, your next step is what binding system I'm going to use. I have 5 binding systems. The original Hidden Hinge Plus, Hollow Hidden Hinge, sorry, I have 4 binding systems. Hollow Hidden Hinge and the pop-up platform. All right, so you have to decide which one of those you want to use. How do you decide which one of those you want to use? It's based upon your pages. If you have really fat, chunky, interactive pages, you want to either go with pop-up platform or Hollow Hidden Hinge. All right, if you have very simple pages, you want to go with Hidden Hinge Plus. Hidden Hinge Plus is an upgrade from the original Hidden Hinge binding system. So I hardly ever use that one anymore. I really don't use it. All right. So I would pick from the 3, but the OG binding system is the Hidden Hinge binding system. So I would pick from the first 3 because nowadays we make chunky pages, right? So your binding system is determined based upon how interactive your pages are. All right, so stay tuned and I'll explain which binding system I'm choosing for this album and why. All right, so hopefully this masterclass was helpful. Please let me know what you think about the level of detail in this video and if you found this helpful, even if you are not a beginner. All right, if you are a seasoned mini album maker, if you found this helpful, let me know. I would love to know what your thoughts are on this. And if you don't subscribe to my channel yet, please give me a subscribe and a like. I would appreciate that. And I will see you in the next segment. This is Kathy with Paper Phenomenon, and I'll see you in the next video.